all around Henry County, and Joel on the job at Ice Creations in Napoleon. Chad Hartson's with us. Chad, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Tell me a little bit about Ice Creations. It's kind of a hidden treasure, I think, for Henry County and for Napoleon. The work that you guys do here is unbelievable. It's gorgeous. Tell me a little bit about the business.
Well, thank you. We started the business about 12 years ago. We started in Wauseon, and then we were there for about 3 years before we moved over to Napoleon. We do ice sculptures for everything from the Kentucky Derby to Mother's Day brunches at the hotels and country clubs, to weddings, graduations, corporate events. So we do ice sculptures for a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I know you've been all around the United States. You've been all around the world even with your sculptures, and it ranges from the things like you said for commercial use to some of the most beautiful artistry you can think of, really.
Yeah, I've competed in a lot of competitions. A lot of people have seen articles in the paper from where I've gone to Alaska and competed in the World Ice Art Championships. In 2005, I placed first place in the world up there. I've placed third and fourth and fifth, and this year we just got eighth up there at the World Ice Art Championships. So we've done a lot of competition carving along with the production work that we do here.
The process itself, it's got to be rewarding for you because, like I said, you're almost doing art along with it when you're doing functional stuff, even the most basic stuff. You're doing some neat stuff, and the wow factor of when you unveil that or bring that out for people, that has to be really the most satisfying thing for you.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most rewarding things is when people see it, and that's their first impression is the wow factor. A lot of people they want to touch it so bad, and a lot of times we're like, you can touch it. It's ice. You can touch it. It's
not going to fall apart on me here.
Exactly. We're doing stuff at like the Toledo Zoo, and that they want to get as close to it as possible and have as much hands on it as they possibly can. Because a lot of people don't get to see it, so it's a good interaction, and it's great to be able to see people with that wow factor on their face.
And not only do you do things like the commercial things and the contests and things like that, people can have world-class art at their own personal events, weddings, celebrations, anything like that. You guys do a lot of things just for everyday ordinary people like me.
Oh yeah, when people come in, it's one of the first things we tell them is that you don't have to pick out of the catalog that we have. We have a catalog of pictures, but it's out of convenience. It's not out of that you have to pick that sculpture that's in the book. If we have a picture, we can carve it. So.
Well, why don't we walk through the process here? We've got the start of the process right behind you here, and getting chilly and getting cold and ready to go.
Yeah, these are the machines that make the blocks of ice. We make about 40 blocks of ice a week. They're 40 300-pound blocks of ice. The machines that make the blocks of ice freeze from the bottom up. And the pumps, there's always water on the top of the machines. The pumps are circulating the water around so that it's a crystal clear block of ice in the end. One other capability with us having these machines that allows us to be able to freeze anything into the ice. So we can freeze flowers, pictures, beer bottles, vodka bottles. We've pretty much froze everything inside of these blocks of ice that can go on display then.
So a lot of this is really up to the creativity of you guys, or the creativity of the person who has hired you.
Oh yeah. Our creativity on top of the creativity of the people that hire us. Sometimes we get stuck in our own creativity, and it always helps when other people come in and have a different perspective or a different outlook and say, "Can you do this?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, wow, we could do that."
I had somebody call my office at the chamber the other day, and they were asking about your business, and I said, look at it this way, it's like Ace of Cakes with ice, really.
Yeah, and there's a few shows coming out like that on the Discovery Channel and the Learning Channel. We've been called to do a couple of the shows, but it hasn't gone too far yet, so I definitely see that as a possibility down the road somewhere.
I think that it's a neat process. So we start here. Where do we go from here?
Once we go from here, we pull the blocks of ice and we take them over to this bandsaw that's behind us here. And the bandsaw allows us to cut the ice into any thickness that we want. So we can cut a 1-inch thick piece of ice that we can use for different displays, shot glasses, or sorbet dishes. Usually we use like a 1-inch piece of ice to do little sorbet dishes for ice cream. And we cut everything on that bandsaw then down to thickness, the thickness that we want. After that, then we take it over here to the freezer where we store all of our blocks of ice.
I knew I wore my coat for a reason today, but in here we're in the freezer here at Ice Creations, and this is where it comes after it's cut.
Yep, this is where it comes after it's cut. As you can see, we got blocks of ice stored all ready to go. We try to stay stocked up as much as possible. During this time of the year, it's easier for us to have some on stock. During the winter, a lot of times we're using it so fast that it's hard for us to have a stock like this in the freezer. So this is normally what we like the freezer to look like, with a little bit of supply in it. But these are the blocks of ice all boxed up and ready to be carved.
Now, I noticed back here in the corner that you've got bags of ice up here, and that's a new part of the business. Not only do you do the unbelievable art and the unbelievable sculptures and things like that, when I talk about taking care of normal people, you're in the bagged ice business too for a lot of different areas. If people have bagged ice needs, you've got it.
Yeah, a few years ago we bought the business from Dave Samlow out of Florida, and so we took over his small bagged ice business, and we've been doing the bags of ice ever since then. So it's been a good addition to our business.
Sure. So if you got an event or graduation or any kind of party like that, this is the place to be.
Yep, no problem. We have units that you can rent, everything from small single door units to large freezer trailers. So we're pretty much equipped to do anything on the bagged ice end of it. These are some sculptures we have coming up this weekend, and this is how we normally start with the design. We'll trace them onto a piece of template paper, just a one-dimensional drawing, and that's how we end up with a three-dimensional sculpture. It just helps us create the sculpture a lot faster by having the one-dimensional drawing to start with.
Yeah, the visual part of this job amazes me. I'm more of a word guy than a visual guy, but when you look at it and you put something like this, and then what it actually appears as on the table or on the rest of the ice, it's amazing. The process is really neat to me.
Yeah, a lot of people have trouble with that. I think that's one of the most difficult parts of our business is that a lot of people can draw and they can see the drawing and they know what it should look like, but they have a problem doing the transition in their head to getting it to a three-dimensional sculpture. So, people we've trained in the past, they'll be carving away, and a lot of times they get lost in the sculpture because they kind of forget where they're going to get that three-dimensional sculpture in the end. So that's definitely one of the hardest parts is that transition.
Back in the freezer again, a different freezer this time, and this is where the real nuts and bolts, where the work gets done, right?
Yeah, this is the intricate part. We bought this machine about 10 years ago, and it definitely helps with production, and we use it a lot for company logos mainly, or etchings, as you can see on the hearts that are on the table that say Mom. This machine does that engraving on the blocks of ice, and it does it so precise that if it's something that if I were to do it by hand, it would take me about 6 hours to do by hand, and the machine can do it in 20-30 minutes. So we were getting a lot of requests for it, and it just came for that time for our business to invest in the machine. And we use it a lot for the logos. We do sorbet dishes and shot glasses off of this machine. It just helps cut a lot of that intricate stuff and cut the time down from what would it take for us to do it by hand. So
if I had something done and I provided you with a PDF or a computer file of it, you could put it right in here and take care of it.
Exactly. We just take a PDF file and basically tell the computer what we want it to do, and it goes ahead and cuts the ice how we tell it.
That's an amazing process, and amazing the intricacy, the minute detail that you can get in here.
Oh yeah. It's real intricate. You see there's a Mother's Day thing back here on the wall behind you that has a rose and everything else engraved in it, so it can get pretty intricate.
We're in what I guess I'd call the finish freezer right now, the double F, as we take a look at some of the sculptures that you have finished that are on hand waiting to get delivered right now.
Yep, these sculptures will be going out on Friday for Mother's Day. this is probably the coldest freezer we have, and we keep it the coldest because once the sculptures are carved, we put them in here and let them get as cold as possible before they're delivered.
And that probably keeps them longer once they get on site and out in room temperature, or warmer
exactly.
than that.
Yeah, just in between the transportation process, between leaving the freezer, going out to the warm air, being loaded onto the freezer truck, it allows them the temperatures, with them being the coldest in this freezer, helps them withstand that temperature difference of going in and out of stuff during delivery.
Our producer Ken Reeker would attest to the chilliness of the freezer. He was the only one besides you who's used to working in these temperatures not to wear a coat. I'm happy to say I brought a coat today, but I imagine holidays are big for you too. With Mother's Day coming up, as we said when we're taping this right now, holidays have to be a big thing for you as a business.
Yeah, holidays are big things. A lot of the hotels, country clubs, stuff like that do stuff for Mother's Day, and or Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So they're definitely big days for us, and because they're big days for the restaurant industry in a whole too. So,
do you have set customers you work with all the time that you're on, or basically retainer for some of these hotels and businesses like that?
Yeah, we have regular customers. We do all the stuff for Inverness Country Club, Sylvania Country Club, Shawnee Country Club down in Lima, Stone Ridge and Bowling Green. We're pretty much Toledo Country Club. We do pretty much every hotel and country club in the area we do sculptures for on a regular basis.
When we come back, Joel tries out his sculpting skills as Joel on the Job continues on All Around Henry County.